This is David with episode 21 of the Believe in Balance podcast. And this is a little bit different episode than I'm recording live. I had a patient cancel, so I didn't expect to get this out to midweek. But with time being of the essence, I wanted to call attention to some wearable tech news that kind of crosses over to both my Substack populations at No Stroke and here on Achieve Balance. Many of you on the podcast, on the Believe in Balance podcast, heard me mention many times about the potential for using technology for fall prevention. In fact, last time I did a bonus episode for those that are taking the course on a device to help avert falls. I'll have you head over to the newsletter if you want more about that. But today, over the weekend, I produced a Substack article about Google's Fitbit Air's announcement and release of their new Fitbit that kind of is going to, in my opinion, change the way a lot of the wearable tech vendors promote, market, and allow you to engage with your own data. Because they came in as at a price point, and the reason it's a very attractive price point, and for those that have heard me on other podcasts, but also have maybe tuned into a video where I've shown in the past my carousel of rehab progress, the Fitbit, the original Fitbit. I'm going to pop it up, so maybe this is a reason to also watch this. I am recording it as a video as well because I'm as if you're watching the video, you'll see that I have the Google Fitbit Air Google Shop page up, so you can get a visual on the Fitbit Air. And I'm going to dive into a little bit more about it in a second as I talk about the article I wrote for Substack on No Stroke. But I'm reaching into my carousel of digital progress, going way back to some of the things that I used in my practice, including the CalTrack, the Nike Fuel Band, the little pod that would go in your shoe that Nike came out with. But there are so many innovations that have always touted that they were going to be what was going to lead the way in digital and patient engagement. And a lot of them, tended to fall flat, mainly because of the price. But at this price point of $99 without charging for additional monthly monitoring, like products like the Aura and the um, even the Apple Watch doesn't charge for data, but the entry point on a new Apple Watch is much more than this for what what it helps you monitor. I'm going to dive into that in this article, but um, I just wanted to call attention and get this out because I did order and pre-order two of these, one for myself and my wife. And this is a limited time offer. I am not, full disclosure, I am not at all an associate, or I have no disclosures with Google, but I just feel this excites me from a patient perspective because of the price point and what it monitors, which we're going to talk about in this episode. But the other thing too, these release on at the end of the month. When I ordered mine, I was told they're going to ship the last week in May, the beginning of June. But if you're watching me on the screen, the other thing I wanted to call attention is in addition to ordering it directly from them, the other perk is that you'll get $35 in Google Store credit. And that's important, I think, because you might want a second band. My wife ordered the I believe it was the classic style, but it was the lavender, and I ordered the black. Honestly, like the Steph Curry one, but I wasn't. Those are my corporate colors, the orange and gray, but I wasn't willing to shell out the additional $30 just to have Steph Curry's name and brand on my wrist. But let's So head over to Google. I'll put a link in the article that I'm gonna dive into here in a minute as it applies to stroke. But within the course of Believe in Balance, the one of the modules we talk about is cardiovascular, and that's coming up as the newest module that's going to be released next week. So keep in mind that a tool like this can help you manage what you're doing as far as your mobility, because as I've always said, you can't manage what you're not measuring. So let me stop sharing the screen. Let me dive into the article I wrote and the relevance for um, anything to do with let me just open a bigger screen here. Sorry, doing this on the fly. But I'm gonna share. So if you are following along on the video, this is a video I'll probably put up on YouTube on No Stroke as well, because I do want to get this news out to as many stroke survivors as well as I can. So this is the article. If you're seeing this over the weekend, I posted, I think it was Friday actually, I released this. That was Fitbit Air, a possible game changer for stroke survivors seeking affordable wearable tech for recovery insights and health monitoring. This is a topic I've been following for many years. I've helped a lot of companies with sport performance, in my carousel of digital progress. I've worked with a wearable motion tracking sensor that can help with rehab, measuring joint performance and adherence to rehab programs. But it's always been a catch and always a pain point for me that we're not making these devices affordable until the release of Google's Fitbit Air for what it monitors. I am actually very excited about it. And stay with me. I'm going to dive in and read. So, breaking: Google just changed the rules on fitness wearables, what it could mean for the stroke survivor looking for an affordable tech-enabled solution to help guide and measure recovery. And I'm the author of this article. I actually dropped it on the 9th. I think that was last Friday. So head over if you want to read it, but I'm going to read it here. You can follow along if you want to share it. The links are there. And if you want to subscribe to No Stroke, you can do so over at my No Stroke Substack. So just a little update if you haven't heard about this device or you're new to kind of wearables. This is why it's important. Google's impending release of a $99 price point screen-free Fitbit Air, which ships on May 26th, is set to radically shift the fitness wearable market. Most importantly, it may offer a breakthrough for stroke survivors seeking an affordable, tech-enabled solution to guide and measure their recovery. And for my own research on this topic and speaking with stroke survivors for my upcoming new book, Closure After Stroke, cost has previously been a big barrier to entry for using fitness and recovery trackers to support their health insights and wellness care. So I ask in a poll, as a stroke survivor, do you use wearable tech devices to help track your health and to gain insights maybe about your recovery? And the last time I checked on the poll stats over the weekend, it was about 30% now were saying they did. So the questions, the poll asked yes, no, or no, but researching. A few were saying no, about 25%, or about a third actually. Now, when I looked late to the latest ones this morning, and then a good third were actually saying no, but researching options. So it's interesting that more and more, as care gets increasingly fragmented, more expensive, less times with providers, I think folks are going to be looking for a digital tool, perhaps like this, to help them take better control of their health and fitness. So, and basically, the core strategy behind the Fitbit Air seems to be clear from my research, that Google intends to own the health data layer, not just sell the hardware of the device. Obviously, when they're coming in at $99, after pre-launch, I don't know what the device is going to cost, but if you save up front and you're getting the other benefit is you'll get three months of the AI coaching, which I'll talk about later in this piece. But you also get that $35 credit for a second band, to put the technology or the sensor on if you want different colors, styles, etc. So their strategy involves rebranding the entire Fitbit app. Now, in my carousel progress, you know, if you've known what Fitbit looks like before, they they used to not give you, at least the band alone didn't give you the data that this new Fitbit Air does. So I'll dive into that shortly. But they're going to pull that Fitbit app into the Google Health platform later, actually, the beginning of next week, May 19th, and it will create a unified data layer that pairs with hundreds of apps, including medical records, which is exciting to see, both on iOS and Android. So we'll see how that plays out. I haven't dove into the app. I think it's being repositioned for that May 19th release. So for the stroke survivor, this approach offers several significant advantages, in my opinion, of course, but it does allow unprecedented affordability. At just $99, the Fitbit Air is positioned as a disruptive, low-cost entry point compared to competitors like Whoop, which requires a $199 to $359 investment per year with their subscription, or the Aura Ring, which my wife was considering this before we actually ordered the Fitbit Air at $349 to $499. Some of the nicer looking Aura bands are actually in that $400 to $600 price range now, plus a $70 per year a membership. So affordability is crucial for making continuous recovery monitoring accessible, and that applies to many of my patients, not only those with stroke, but my Parkinson's patients, etc., my patients with MS, who are, movement is their best medicine, and measuring it has been an issue and a problem in the past because they often can't afford these devices. So there's going to be another layer of power that will go into this, is the AI coaching potential in the background. So while core tracking remains free, Google Health Premium, which it is an AI-based AI coaching, will offer this feature at a paid level. I'm not sure what the pricing on that is, but I know I did sign up for 3 free months of the AI coaching. When I get my device, I will be doing another follow-up video on this for sure, and probably an episode here on the podcast. But this AI-powered guidance could be invaluable for post-stroke rehab, offering personalized metrics and progress tracking that goes beyond simple step counts. And that was kind of my opinion with the original Fitbit that I had access to. It really was like kind of a glorified pedometer with some mobility data, maybe a watch that you could push, but that's why I originally switched, and still to this day, I'm a big user of the Apple Watch and used it extensively in my recovery. But it does have limitations, and the video I do is going to kind of compare accuracy with the Fitbit Air with my current use of the Apple Watch. So the value of timely personalized health data in managing conditions like AFib, atrial fibrillation, a major stroke risk, has been previously highlighted by the potential of smartwatches to provide real heart rhythm monitoring. And I did upgrade to the watch that, Apple was one of the first ones to come online with that. And for me, as a stroke survivor with a PFO occluder device in my heart, I wanted to have that data that I could check. And I have actually has set off at one time when I was severely dehydrated, an AFib reading, which I verified with a second device as well. So a unified health platform is potentially possible now. The unified health layer, which is hopefully Google Health, could connect data from these wearables with medical records and third-party apps, and could provide a holistic view essential for complex long-term recovery management. We have an episode in the queue with my stroke neurologist, Dr. Lester Lung, and another patient, Rory Polera, who publishes here on Substack as well, that we talk about this, and it's not released yet, but we dove into this about how forward-thinking clinicians might start to apply technology into their practice and helping to guide patients with their recovery of their health and wellness goals. And I do that now as a PT in my practice. My platform actually pulls in devices like the Apple Watch, actually the Fitbit. So I'm looking to see how the integration, when it's released, will update in my current platform, because I use it as nudge points right now. But with the AI element here, my wheels are already turning in my brain of how I can kind of kick it up a notch with my own patients. Is this going to disrupt the competition? I think yes. So the Fitbit Air's model, which is low cost hardware paired with a free core software layer and optional paid AI, creates immediate problems, I believe, for subscription based competitors. Whoop, for example, faces a significant pricing problem since its entire business model relies on recurring subscriptions with no $99 or low band entry point. I've compared the Whoop actually to the Fitbit Air. The Fitbit Air is quite a bit lighter. I'm sure someone will come out with a comprehensive breakdown. Battery life seems to be about a week. So we'll see when I put it into practice. I don't own a Whoop, would gladly, work at putting one on if like, for example, I didn't pay for my Apple Watch. I don't My watch probably runs, it's the Ultra Edition. The watch is probably $800, not something that, I would have budget to even buy a second one right now. But while it's working, I'm using it well. So the Aura is the other one. While the premium hardware brand must now defend its subscription model against a free alternative from Google. And my wife and I looked at Aura. I determined that, first of all, the price. I'm looking at a solution for a deeper dive into my sleep. And the limitation of the Apple Watch is that the charge capacity, I don't want a big wrist watch on my wrist at night, but also I want it available to go in the morning. I don't want to worry about a dead battery because I was tracking my sleep. Aura presents that as a nice feature with its a longer battery life, but the cost, and also my wife and I both determined that the feel of a band for our busy schedules. I work all day with patients. I also am very physical outside of work in my hobbies and things I do around the yard. I like to work with bricks and masonry, and having that Aura band, I was always kind of, I don't we practice with plastic rings, and I don't think that I could have another ring on that I would be not concerned about ruining it. So the question is, will survivors of this commoditization wave, or the commercialization strategy wave, be those who built something entirely different and help support a stroke survivor's data layer longitude? And here's where I really feel like these other providers, technology providers, Whoop and Aura, and even Apple have kind of been missing the mark. So these are recovery insights, what these wearables can do into the home, that until this point, even skilled physical therapists like myself and rehabilitation care teams can't replicate. That real world mobility that we've talked about in digital for so long now is emerging as very important, but also something now potentially very affordable. And it just goes down to the adoption and how early adopters in the clinical space will see the potential here and build for solutions. And so I ask the question: is a true home field advantage now coming to condition and patient specific populations? Myself and other stroke survivor advocates and trailblazers like Rory Polera have been, kind of calling out Whoop and calling out Aura for not wanting to build with us in the stroke community for a while. And I say, after all, these insights and performance metrics, they have been the reasons touted previously that led to key partnerships for Whoop and Aura. They're first to present and compete for preferred partner and sponsor relationships and athlete announcements from, all things from the US military to the USA soccer, USA tennis, and the list keeps growing weekly. And it's amazing that no one really is going after the neurological populations, including stroke, Parkinson's, and MS, because I really feel they're missing the mark. So to this point, nobody has built for stroke recovery optimization, and such a unique opportunity now exists. So ultimately, Google's bet is that ad data infrastructure economics will outweigh consumer subscription economics. And for the stroke survivor, this means a powerful health data platform, complete with core feature tracking, is now being commercialized and made accessible for the largest operating system of owners. This move is a massive win for patient access, in my opinion, to continuous smart monitoring during the long journey of recovery or survivorship of any condition. I'm asking, could Google's bet finally make tracking health data more affordable and help give stroke survivors um, and stroke in general care a long overdue breakout moment in how we support stroke longitudinally. So I wrote an article back in August of last year entitled "When Will Stroke Care Finally Get Its Breakout Moment?" I'm going to include that in the show notes. It's worth a read so we can see the progression, and that's where I made the call to action to other wearable tech partners to come in and build with us. So maybe they will start listening. So here's more directly from Google and other reference technology reviews that I dove into for this article, where I reviewed the sites on what metrics will be tracked with Google Fitbit Air. Not too many people seem to have an early release of this device, so there weren't a lot of videos. But if you're looking, you'll see the back of the sensor if you're following along with this read in this podcast episode. But basically, I'll read quickly for those listening what it does monitor. The Google Fitbit Air is an ultra light, screenless fitness tracker, just like Fitbit's devices in the past, that continuously collects a robust suite of background health and biometric data. Its core wearable biometric sensors collect and track the following metrics, which syncs via Bluetooth with the Google Health app. So you're now going to get heart rate monitoring 24/7, continuous heart rate tracking, including heart rate zones during workouts, which is cool. On my watch, I do get that, but I also have a zones tracking additional app that integrates with the Apple Watch currently. So I'm going to be cool to compare that feature head on. Heart rhythm, or AFib, background detection for irregular heart rhythms that may indicate atrial fib. So it remains to be seen how they do track that, but I'm going to be interested in that as well as a stroke survivor. Heart rate variability, HRV, tracks the variation in time between each heartbeat to help measure stress and training recovery. So that's a big biometric data. Wearing a device to kind of check HRV has gotten a lot of buzz. But one thing that I learned is if you're not wearing, like for myself, my HRV to this point probably isn't completely accurate because I'm not truly wearing and monitoring when at rest and when I'm sleeping to get those data points on how my heart varies between beats 24/7. So I don't know if they'll integrate if I can wear, for example, my Apple Watch during my workouts and for the bulk of my day, and then switch over and monitor HRV from um, from the Google Fitbit Air, which is how I initially intend to use it after the head-to-head comparison feature. But I'll report back on that because I'm wondering if I can use the lighter weight, less invasive heart rate tracking and sleep tracking from the Fitbit Air in the evening, and then look at those sleep metrics from that device, and they use the workout metrics and my other movement data from the Apple Watch, and could they work together through analyzing that data in Google Health's app? We'll see. Blood oxygen, XSPO2. Again, many folks who have been in the hospital are familiar with the using a pulse ox when you're sick, but the SpO2, I do have that a feature. I was the last Apple Watch that still had that. I'm not sure if they settled the lawsuit, but somehow this company has been able to offer this too. So I'm going to compare it to a real. I'm looking over my shoulder. Yeah. So hold on one second for those watching. Uh, this is what a finger one pulse oximeter looks like, that you might be familiar with in the hospital. So, in addition to that, skin temperature tracks your wrist nightly skin temperature. Pretty cool. Breathing rate monitors your average breaths per minute while resting. Sleep analytics details your sleep duration and segments your rest into light, deep, and REM sleep. That's the main thing I'm looking at that for. In addition to my breathing rate, I'm pretty low during the day, from using the Apple Insights, but I kind of given up multiple times keeping my watch on me at night. So this is a new frontier for me to start managing and looking deeper at my sleep metrics. Motion and activity. So this is where I'll be comparing Apple's watch with this new built-in 3-axis accelerometer and gyroscope to track daily steps, distance, active minutes, calories burned, and automatic workout detection. So that was a limitation. So this will be a really curious diving in, because I've reported in the past, I dove into a research opportunity at UVM, University of Vermont, earlier in the year, where I actually was paired up with an Apple Watch and 5 other devices, from skin sensors to measuring motion to polar heart rate monitor, a GPS, and we put all that was uploaded in compared on the back end. But one of the limitations was every time I was working out or active, I had to put the watch in workout mode. And the limitation that I reported back on that study was that the device, I had to stop 3/4 through each day and recharge the Apple Watch, because to put it in computing and workout mode, it had to turn on all the sensors, and that was a big battery drain. So gonna go head to head with those 2 and see where that plays out. But AI Health Insights. So if you choose to use the optional Google Health Premium subscription, and that, I guess you get 3 months free, that you can sign up for. I remember at checkout, it indicated whether or not I wanted to do that. I said, why not? I'll do that, as long as you remember to shut off that payment if you decide that it doesn't work for you. So I'm going to see what kind of insights, maybe how I compare that with some of the PT coaching and rehab I do, to give my patients even more maybe meaningful nudges. So that data, that raw biometric data, can go into now generative AI assisted, you know, uh, I guess language models, if you will, that provides highly personalized workout plans, daily readiness scores, and tailored recovery suggestions. I don't think it's going to put PTs out of business, but I really think it is going to maybe, I'm not going to say, personal trainers tend to be much more forward thinking and quick to leverage and pivot and maybe include things like this within their training packages. And I think PTs are going to have to start thinking about doing the same. So, by the way, if you're benefiting from hearing this, reach out and share with someone who might be, researching these things now, because I think it can, I'm talking about stroke recovery in this episode, but I think this can apply to anyone who just needs a nudge and finally wants to, you know, take charge of their own mobility and health, by gaining these actionable insights. So, full disclosure, I did say, and I do to this point, have no disclosures with Google, but I certainly would like to partner with them if they want to help more stroke survivors gain access to their health data to improve outcomes. I also have pre-ordered, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, my own Fitbit Air, and we'll be comparing it up against the Apple Watch for accuracy and other features. So that video is certainly to follow. But in closing, at first pass review, this option, I think, could be very promising for stroke recovery. It could offer affordable performance metrics that survivors need to help them reimagine what is possible in recovery. And I did write a post a week back, reimagining stroke recovery through performance metrics. I'll link it in this episode. But basically, I mentioned in that episode that we really need to start thinking and treating and training stroke survivors like athletes, because after a stroke, the medical system often treats recovery as a race with a fixed finish line, typically coinciding with insurance expiration, hospital discharge guidelines, and they need to make room for the next patient. And often at discharge, this model leaves patients victim to the slinky effect. So I write a lot more about the slinky effect, and what rehab and technology enabled solutions could potentially do for stroke recovery in my book, Closure After Stroke. But I wanted to get this one out quick. That's why I'm using the Substack platform. We'll follow with this video, perhaps with all these links on our No Stroke on YouTube as well, because there is a time, kind of incentive deadline. Again, not by me, but if you want to save a little money, like I did over the weekend, I pre-ordered and got those other perks, including 3 months of AI coaching, the $35 credit for another band. This is an older generation band, but this is a very old band from the full digital of Carousel Progress that I joked about at the beginning. But just like in this one, you can pop out the sensor, and you can put in different style bands, whether they be more fabric, more of a, silicone based for how active you are, and also for your color choices. So I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'll follow up with an update when I do get mine and start to do some, first couple of days of monitoring with both my devices on. But I'm also going to be, I'm now adding this into that last module of the Believe in Balance course, and the Achieve Balance full course, where we talk about exercise, rest, and recovery, using tools like this instead of manually logging everything and getting lost with, what to do next. This presents another kind of exciting frontier and an affordable price for those looking to step up and take charge of their recovery, health, and wellness. So I think that's all. Until next time, this has been David for the Believe in Balance podcast, the Achieve Balance course with the new module coming up. And this is a crossover with No Stroke. So hopefully, with all those areas where you might be hearing this or watching, it's enough to kind of give you enough information to perhaps get started. So till next time, stay well, stay on your feet, and keep the faith and keep moving forward. Thank you.